Today, we will unveil the startling reality of that iconic event. And believe me, there is much more to the tale than what you witnessed on television. Although there have been ups and downs in Rasheeda and Kirk's relationship, as anyone who has followed the drama knows, we were all shaken by the moment when Rasheeda's mother literally ran over Kirk's bike and yelled, "Get out of the way, Rasheeda!" But what went on behind the scenes? Was that explosive moment actually the result of a humorous accident? Or was there more tension present than we realized? Stuck out like a sore thumb, this was a public spectacle that had everyone talking. Not just a household quarrel or argument. But you were not aware of the depth of the tension that existed between Rasheeda and Kirk, or even between their families, behind the camera. You see, it was when Rasheeda's mother got involved that things truly took a turn for the worse. Kirk and Rasheeda had already been battling relationship problems and trust concerns. In this video, we'll dissect that moment, expose the genuine feelings, and provide some startling information you might not know. Cause that rage. This story is far from ended, I assure you, so stay tuned as we go into the specifics of what truly transpired. You will want to pay attention to some of the wild turns. We have to go back a few steps to see why Rasheeda's mother ran over Kirk's bike that day. The relationship between Kirk and Rasheeda has been anything but simple for years. Supporters have observed as their marriage has grown through family drama, infidelity, and trust concerns. Things weren't as picture-perfect behind closed doors as they seemed, despite their outward appearance as the ultimate power couple. Kirk's romance with a lady, which, as you would imagine, led to the birth of a child, was the beginning of it all. It was awful for Rasheeda, especially since she had to cope with the treachery and the public scrutiny. That wasn't the end of the storm, though. Particularly with the continuous public humiliation, the tension between Rasheeda and Kirk only seemed to grow in the years that followed. The stress started to really develop, though, because Rasheeda's family, especially her mother, wasn't letting things go either. Kirk's commitment to her daughter has always been a source of worry for Rasheeda's mother, who has never been a fan of Kirk. Those concerns were only exacerbated by the cheating controversy. You'll see if you rewatch the episodes that Rasheeda's mother consistently questioned Kirk's motives, criticized him for his actions, and even questioned whether he could be a real partner for her daughter. What actually transpired with the bike that day, though? It was a culmination of everything, to put it simply. Rasheeda's mother felt compelled to act out her worries as the pent-up hurt, rage, and frustration all reached a boiling point. We can now return to the well-known incident in which Kirk's bike was run over by Rasheeda's mother. You may remember the shock of it if you were watching at the time. Not only was it an easy error, but it also seemed to indicate that Rasheeda's mother was not merely upset, but also frustrated. However, did this act of frustration happen at random, or was there a lot more deliberate motive? In that episode, Rasheeda's mother was already under stress due to being a direct witness to Kirk's mess, and let's just say that she was out of tolerance. Because she had seen Kirk's infidelity and carelessness hurt her daughter, she had had enough. Rasheeda saw the bike as significant, but this was about everything Kirk had done to her, not just a bike. Was more than simply a piece of real estate. It was a graphic depiction of Kirk's interference with her daughter's life and happiness. It was Rasheeda's mother's way of saying, "I'm done with this." But what really shocked everyone was when she screamed, "Get out of the way, Rasheeda!" The boldness and audacity of that statement, not just anger, but a declaration, hit hard in that moment. And the feelings weren't just between Rasheeda and Kirk. The whole family felt them. Now that all has been revealed, the truth is, did Rasheeda's mother truly believe that this would improve the situation? Was this an honest attempt to improve the situation? For once in a long time, Kirk was no longer the confident man attempting to improve things. Instead, he was defensive, exposed, and vulnerable. At this point, everyone is wondering whether Kirk can solve the problem, whether there is any way to reverse the damage, or whether this is the point at which everything will irrevocably fall apart. Let's dive deeper into this drama, and if you thought it couldn't get any more emotional, wait for the actual bombshell. There were other things hanging in the air besides Kirk's sincere plea for forgiveness. Kirk was totally unprepared for something that Rasheeda's mother said during her outburst. She shocks everyone by exposing something far more profound than Kirk's past abuse of Rasheeda in the heat of the moment. It is about more than simply adultery these days. It's about something more sinister that has been hidden for years. In telling Rasheeda, "You don't even know the full truth of what he's done," she marks a sea change. Everyone can see that the ground is shifting beneath them. After hearing her mother's shocking remarks, Rasheeda asks for further details, but her mother isn't answering all of her questions. Rather, she is deliberately excluding some information, so neither Rasheeda nor Kirk are aware of how much her mother knows. Why is this so crucial? This is because Kirk's barriers suddenly crumble, and the things he has buried and sought to conceal suddenly appear. While he tries to downplay what was stated, the harm has already been done. This is when everything becomes even stranger, and it's a whole different ballgame. Kirk tries to escape the past by claiming that it no longer matters, that he has changed, and that he is improving himself in an effort to reclaim control. Rasheeda's mom, on the other hand, was not amenable to him ignoring his past. At this point, things worsen because she demands answers and the complete truth. Confused, Rasheeda looks to Kirk for any indication that he is telling the truth. Certain assurance that she's used to it. Now, his own secrets are forcing this desperate guy into a corner. The storyline develops here since Rasheeda is unaware that there is more to the story. The complete amount of what has been concealed is far worse than anyone could have ever guessed, and the secret that Rasheeda's mother disclosed is just one aspect of it. But Kirk is already so enmeshed in denial that he doesn't see the moments are ticking away and the walls are closing in. At this point, everything shifts because the basis of Rasheeda and Kirk's relationship is being put to the test by both this new discovery and the emotional baggage they both bear. Now that everything is in a mess, Rasheeda is starting to question all she has ever known about Kirk as she starts to uncover the layers of dishonesty. The situation has now grown out of control, and Kirk is turning back on a secret that Rasheeda's mother disclosed before. We've seen on reality TV that what begins as a minor untruth can quickly grow into something much more significant. So now everyone is asking, how deep does this rabbit hole go? Even worse, the lies have not only affected Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage, but have also spread. Let's take a nap. We are already aware that Kirk's background is more complicated than he has attempted to portray it, but what if I told you that Rasheeda's mother's suggestion about this secret is more than a one-time error? This web of lies is made up of several levels, and it is gradually dismantling. However, the most shocking revelation is that Kirk's affair was not a one-time error. Rather, it was the beginning of a pattern of his lack of commitment to Rasheeda, and his affair with the lady he claimed was merely a friend was simply the beginning. This affair was not limited to physical contact, and there is evidence that it lasted far longer than anyone had thought. Emotional connections were also engaged. It was a pattern of conduct that Kirk had mastered over the years, not just a moment of weakness. Kirk was defensive, vulnerable, and totally exposed for the first time in a long time. He was no longer the confident man attempting to patch things up. Now that everything has gotten to the breaking point, everyone is wondering whether Kirk can get this under control, whether the damage can even be repaired, or whether this is the point at which everything will come apart forever. All right, so we're going to get deeper into this drama. If you thought it could be much more dramatic, you're in for a huge surprise. Rasheeda's mother started it all when she made a mistake during her outburst that took Kirk by surprise. In the heat of the moment, she reveals something shocking that nobody saw coming. She goes beyond simply discussing Kirk's past wrongdoings against Rasheeda to expose something far more profound, a secret from Kirk's background that no one was aware of. Her revelation to Rasheeda is about something more sinister that has been suppressed for years, not simply infidelity. It's clear that everything is changing under everyone's feet. Rasheeda, who is stunned by her mother's words, asks for additional details, but her mother isn't just giving them away. She's deliberately keeping some parts of the information secret, so neither Rasheeda nor Kirk are aware of how much her mother knows. Why is this so crucial? This is because Kirk's shields suddenly crumble, revealing the realities he has buried and the things he has attempted to conceal. While he tries to downplay what was stated, the harm has already been done. This is where it becomes even more crazy since it's a whole different ballgame in front of the individuals who have trusted you the most. Things get worse when Kirk tries to conceal the past. Desperate to regain control, he tries to justify his actions by saying that he has changed, that the past is irrelevant, and that he is working on himself. Rasheeda's mom, on the other hand, was not amenable to him ignoring his past. This is when it becomes worse, because she demands answers and the complete truth. Caught in the crossfire, Rasheeda looks at Kirk, her gaze scanning his face for indications of honesty. But instead of the reassuring certainty she is used to, she sees a desperate guy put in a tight spot by his own secrets. As the storyline deepens, Rasheeda remains oblivious to the fact that there is more to the story. The complete amount of what has been concealed is far worse than anyone could have ever guessed, and the secret that Rasheeda's mother disclosed is just one aspect of it. The walls are closing in and time is running out, but Kirk is already so caught up in denial that he doesn't realize it. The basis of Rasheeda and Kirk's relationship is being put to the test at this point, when everything changes. The more Rasheeda tries to uncover the layers of lies, the more she starts to question all she has ever known about Kirk. They continue, but this new discovery has suddenly thrown everything into chaos. Now that things have gone out of control, everyone is curious about how far this rabbit hole will carry them. Reality TV has often demonstrated how a minor lie can soon grow into something much larger. But what's even more startling is that the lies have spread, impacting everyone in their close neighborhood. We should break that. We are already aware that Kirk's background is more complicated than he has attempted to portray it. But what if I told you that Rasheeda's mother's suggestion about this secret is more than a one-time error? This web of lies is made up of several levels, and it is gradually dismantling. However, the most shocking revelation is that Kirk's affair was not a one-time error. Rather, it was the beginning of a pattern of his lack of commitment to Rasheeda, and his affair with the lady he claimed was merely a friend was simply the beginning. This affair was not limited to physical contact, and there is evidence that it lasted far longer than anyone had thought. Naturally, Rasheeda is startled and distraught as she tries to piece together her husband's betrayal, but this time, it goes beyond her and Kirk. The revelation that Kirk might have been concealing a different aspect of his life, one that even Rasheeda was ignorant of, takes the narrative in a far darker direction. At this point, Kirk keeps downplaying his role in the affair, which makes matters even more heated. Rasheeda's possession of one important piece of evidence is a text message, from a number she is unfamiliar with. In a conversation with the other woman, Kirk readily admits to having mixed feelings about his marriage to Rasheeda. But the tone in which the woman accuses Kirk of lying to her, accuses him of dragging her along, and tells him that she has finally had enough, as well as the message itself, is what really shocks the family. In reaction, Kirk pleads with her to stay with him and vows to make things right. Since Kirk has clearly been living a parallel life, Rasheeda is compelled to confront him after receiving this text, standing there with the phone in her. Her heart is racing as she examines the available evidence. This subject has been bugging her, so she turns to face Kirk and asks him, "Kirk, how many times did you lie to me?" Snagged in the act, Kirk attempts self-defense, but it is ineffective because the truth is known. His falsehoods have been exposed, and he is now being held accountable. Kirk, however, throws another bombshell right when it seems like there is nothing more to do. "Rasheeda, I never meant to harm you, but what if I told you that this isn't just about us anymore? This is about my own deep-rooted issues, things I've been struggling with for years. If this is a sign of something much more serious than this affair, something I've never told you about, something I've been too scared to even tell you at this point, then Rasheeda is confused as to what else could be going on." Kirk continues as his eyes begin to well up with tears.